want to believe this. In the quiet and fascinating world of air rifles, there are certain models that slowly build a reputation among shooters without loud announcements or massive advertising campaigns. They travel from one enthusiast to another, through stories shared at shooting ranges and workshops and during calm evenings of conversation among collectors. The Russian Airgun Krosman AG1200 OEM belongs to this unique category. It is a rifle that quietly captured attention not because we tried to dominate the market with flashy appearances, but because it offered a reliable and surprisingly powerful shooting experience that people remembered long after their first shot. The story of the Krosman AG1200 OEM begins within a broader tradition of air rifle development that stretches across decades and continents. Air rifles have always represented a unique combination of engineering, discipline, patience, and precision. Unlike many other sporting tools, they rely on carefully controlled air pressure, mechanical timing, and balanced design to produce accurate and satisfying results. The AG1200 OEM emerged during a time when manufacturers were searching for ways to combine durability, simplicity, and respectable power in a single accessible platform. Russian airgun culture has long respected tools that work reliably in demanding conditions. Shooters often value strength, mechanical honesty, and practical performance above decorative styling. This philosophy influenced many rifles that gained popularity among enthusiasts, and the AG1200 OEM reflects that same spirit. It was designed to deliver consistent shots, dependable operation, and a feeling of solid construction that immediately inspires confidence when the rifle is held for the first time. When someone first encounters the Krosman AG1200 OEM, the first impression often comes from its presence. The rifle carries a balanced form that suggests purpose rather than decoration. The shape of the stock follows traditional sporting rifle lines, allowing the shooter to bring the rifle to the shoulder with a natural movement. The grip area feels comfortable and steady, which encourages a stable shooting posture even during extended practice sessions. The texture of the stock surface is often designed to support control rather than smooth display. This approach reflects the practical mindset behind the rifle. Every detail exists to help the shooter maintain stability while aiming at distant targets. The balance between the front barrel section and the rear stock creates a feeling of calm weight distribution, which is essential for precise shooting. Inside the rifle, the mechanical heart reveals a carefully arranged air-powered system that transforms stored energy into controlled propulsion. Air rifles rely on the movement of air rather than explosive powder, yet the internal engineering required to achieve consistent power is remarkably sophisticated. When the shooter prepares, the rifle energy is stored within the mechanism, waiting patiently until the moment the trigger releases the system and the pellet begins its rapid journey down. The barrel itself plays a critical role in shaping the reputation of the AG1200 OEM. The internal rifling grooves guide the pellet forward while forcing it to spin along its path. This spinning motion stabilizes the pellet during flight, allowing it to travel with improved accuracy toward the target. The precision of these grooves often determines how consistent the rifle will be across many shots, and careful manufacturing ensures that each pellet experiences the same guiding motion. Many shooters discover that the AG1200 OEM offers a surprisingly satisfying rhythm during use. Each shot begins with deliberate preparation. The rifle is positioned carefully, breathing becomes slower, and attention narrows to the alignment between the front sight, the rear sight, and the distant target. This quiet moment before the trigger break represents the essence of marksmanship, and rifles like the AG1200 OEM encourage shooters to appreciate that calm focus. When the trigger is pressed, the internal system responds instantly. Energy stored within the mechanism pushes air forward with controlled force, sending the pellet racing down the barrel in a smooth and focused movement. The sound that follows is far softer than the thunder of a traditional firearm, yet it carries its own distinctive character, a brief mechanical release, followed by the faint whisper of moving air. The pellet then travels through open space, guided by the spin created by the rifled barrel. Gravity and air resistance influence its path, but a skilled shooter learns how to compensate for these forces with careful aim and consistent technique. Over time, this process becomes almost meditative, each shot representing a quiet test of concentration and control. Performance is often one of the most discussed aspects of the Krosman AG1200 OEM. Shooters appreciate a rifle that can maintain steady velocity across repeated shots. Because consistency is the foundation of accuracy, the AG1200 OEM gained recognition for delivering dependable energy levels that allow pellets to travel respectable distances while maintaining stable flight characteristics. Another reason the rifle developed a loyal following is its approachable nature. Beginners often find that it provides a manageable introduction to the discipline of air rifle shooting. The controls are straightforward, the mechanical action is easy to understand, and the feedback from each shot helps new shooters improve their technique gradually rather than overwhelming them with complexity. At the same time, experienced enthusiasts also enjoy exploring the capabilities of the AG1200 Many shooters experiment with different pellet shapes and weights in order to discover which combination produces the tightest groupings on target. This process transforms the rifle into a platform for learning, experimentation, and personal refinement. The iron sight system on the rifle contributes greatly to this learning experience. The front sight stands clearly against distant objects, while the rear sight allows careful adjustments so that the point of impact can be matched to the point of aim. This encourages shooters to develop the traditional skill of sight alignment, which remains one of the most important elements of accurate shooting. For many enthusiasts, the AG1200 OEM becomes more than just a recreational tool. It becomes part of a routine practice tradition. Some shooters set up small targets areas in safe outdoor environments where they spend quiet time improving their accuracy. Others bring the rifle to organized shooting ranges where friendly competitions create opportunities to test skill and share knowledge with fellow enthusiasts. Interesting stories often emerge from these communities. Owners describe how their rifles performed reliably for years with only basic maintenance. The internal mechanism is designed with durability in mind, allowing it to withstand repeated cycles of use while maintaining smooth operation. Simple cleaning of the barrel and careful storage often prove sufficient to keep the rifle functioning properly. Another fascinating element of the AG1200 arms story lies in its connection to global airgun culture. Air rifles have always crossed borders easily because they appeal to the universal human interest in precision engineering, and focused skill shooters from many different countries appreciate the same qualities: accuracy, balance, reliability, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from hitting a distant target. Collectors also play a role in preserving the reputation of rifles. Like the AG1200, some enthusiasts search for well-maintained examples of older airguns because they represent moments in the evolution of mechanical design. Each rifle becomes a historical artifact that tells a story about the engineering priorities and manufacturing capabilities of its time. Over the years, many discussions have taken place about the hidden charm of air rifles compared with more dramatic sporting equipment. Airgun shooting invites patience, reflection, and careful observation. The AG1200 OEM fits naturally into this philosophy because it rewards calm concentration rather than speed or aggressive action. When a shooter spends time with this rifle, the experience gradually becomes familiar. The weight resting against the shoulder, the steady alignment of the sights, and the gentle pressure of the trigger all combine to create a rhythm that feels both relaxing and purposeful. Every successful shot strengthens the connection between the shooter and the tool. Even the environment surrounding a shooting session contributes to the memory of the experience: early morning light across a quiet field, the distant sound of wind through trees, and the focused silence that follows each shot all become part of the ritual. Many shooters later remember these peaceful moments as much as the accuracy of the rifle itself. Another interesting aspect of the AG1200 OEM is how it encourages personal discipline. Because each shot requires preparation, shooters naturally slow down. They observe their breathing, they adjust their posture, and they learn to control small movements that could disturb the aim. This process turns practice sessions into exercises in patience and self-control. The educational value of such rifles should not be underestimated. Many experienced marksmen began their journey with simple airguns that taught them the fundamentals of shooting technique before they ever touched more powerful equipment. Rifles like the AG1200 OEM continue that tradition by offering a platform where beginners can learn safely and confidently. Over time, the rifle becomes familiar to its owner. Small details become noticeable: the smooth feel of the trigger, the steady alignment of the sights, and the predictable response of the mechanism. These details create a sense of reliability that builds trust between the shooter and the rifle.